Remember when Unreal Engine 5 was about to launch and everyone, including myself, was really excited because we thought this is the future of gaming. We're going to be able to create masterpieces from a pile of scrap in a cave. That's a reference right there if you don't get it. And now Unreal Engine 5 is here and well it's an absolute disaster. It's honestly kind of hell breaking loose everywhere.
Another unstable Unreal Engine 5 title. Why are we not optimizing these games properly and promoting the use of FrameGen and or upscaling to fix the issue rather than making it an accessible feature if needed? Had a lot of fun and loved the story until now, but it's really badly optimized and has the usual Unreal Engine problems.
So Unreal Engine 5 is really good for some things, but for a lot of other things, it kind of is like pure destruction. And the problem is, people don't really still know all of the small things that you should know about this. So there's a bunch of situations where people start making a game in Unreal Engine 5. Everything is fine. And then effectively midway they understood, wait a minute, the Unreal 5 engine is not going to allow us to do this, and this that we want to do. It can't handle it. And yeah, problems occur.
Game is barely playable upon the release due to performance issues, poor optimization, which is sadly a standard now, random stutters, and frames per second drops down to single-digit levels, which can only be fixed by a restart. Frequent Unreal Engine 5 crashes followed by shaders compiling every time you launch the game. Absolutely terrible, just awful, a disaster. I can't tell if it's bad luck, overconfidence, or Unreal Engine's fault, but whatever it is, it's a mess. Unreal, get it, among of stuttering, crashing, and terrible optimization, but it's okay because nostalgia. I have two problems with this game, otherwise it's a good game slash remaster. One, Unreal Engine sucks, bad performance and crashes, even though my PC is better than the recommended specs. From
what is this even supposed to be?
I've played, it's pretty good. The original is my favorite game, and this should be an easy recommend, but wow, this PC port is bad. Unreal Engine 5 continues to prove itself as the worst optimized modern graphics engine. And lastly, we are in 2025, and the game doesn't support ultra-wide monitor and another UE5 game with bad optimization. Now, some of you may have been able to put the pieces together, but of all of these, complaints that I just went over, these are for all different experiences that have released in the last year.
Okay, listen, complaining about Mind's Eye is kind of unfair, okay? blaming Unreal Engine on Mind's Eye is a little bit unfair, okay?
The big similarity between all these remarks is the fact that these were complaints all made of Unreal Engine 5 games. This has become a prevalent issue. This is something that a lot of people have been talking about the last number of months, and so the fact is Unreal Engine 5 truly ruining modern gaming. And this is a lot more complicated than some people just like to make it out to be. It's not just, oh my god, Unreal Engine 5 is totally unusable, because there are experiences, there are games that have been fully optimized, and you haven't heard these complaints, although it does feel like it's almost a 50-50 shot at that. But specifically the game that's right now under fire, and everybody is talking about Unreal Engine 5 once again, is this last remark that we just went over, and this is Metal Gear Solid Delta. And specifically on the Steam page, there's various remarks, various complaints about UE5 and its contribution to this game not running too well. Now, fortunately on Steam,
oof, look at this. This is a bunch of people with 10 plus hours now commenting that this is bad. Damn. That is quite insane. Why the clown emojis? What the hell?
Doesn't seem like the issues are too bad, but the platform that has really come under fire is the PlayStation 5 Pro Performance. Now, this article from PlayStation...
Surprise, surprise, the consoles are yet again lacking behind. And this is gonna, dude, we have plateaued when it comes to graphics. We have plateaued. Like, now the graphics increases are minute most of the time, if honestly any. Everyone's now trying to find a different color palette and graphics design, so, they feel special and look different from the rest. No one's trying even to increase this. But somehow, console hardware is still woefully unable to just keep up. But honestly, for how long? Like a decade? Like a solid decade, we have not actually seen improvements from the tip top of gaming, and consoles still can't can't really trudge along. And the next generation of consoles is going to be this bad. also, probably. Most likely, obviously. And they're gonna have a Concord tax on top of them. That's insane.
Lifestyle goes over it. They go over some testing that Digital Foundry did. And what they found was that Konami didn't optimize MGS Delta to run at a locked 60 FPS. On both the PlayStation 5 and PS5 Pro, the outlet found that the game wavers between 40 to 60 FPS, even dipping to 30 in some areas. In my eyes, for a $70 experience, a premium game, that is unacceptable. But unfortunately, this just keeps on fucking happening. Now, there's been other videos, other showcases of these problems with MGS Delta. Nick Tech, a YouTuber and also a Twitter social media guy, he pointed out, I tried running MGS Delta Snake Eater on the lowest possible settings with an internal resolution of 640 x 360 using FSR performance 2 times scale factor. It's literally 360p and the game still dips to 30 FPS. This sums up the optimization of this game. And another tweet he pointed out, a video that came from Z Gaming, another YouTuber or influence streamer of sorts. They said, here's your $80 UE5 game in 2025 running on an RTX 5090, and there's just some noticeable stutters that make this totally unplayable until Konami gets around to fixing it. And then we have another, social media influencer, Synth Potato, saying they weren't kidding about the PS5 Pro having the worst version of MGS3. There's a ton of shimmering FPS drops and it's a blurry mess. Embarrassingly bad showing of PSSR here. They would have been better off just shipping the base PS5 version than even trying. Needs patches ASAP. And then he summarized afterwards saying, PSSR is not the issue here. It's the cooked optimization and complete.
Do you want to trust Sin Potato? He said Riley is not cheating. I don't know. That's a red flag to me.
Misuse of the feature, that's the issue. Trying to upscale from sub 720p to 4K is insanity, and not even DLSS 4.0 could do realistically and keep its quality. And as I said before, the conversation, the outrage surrounding Unreal Engine 5's performance issues, right now...
Wait, this is Mafia Old Country. There's a lot of issues with the graphics, as you can see. This looks like the old games you have played Mafia.
It was on MGS Delta. Before that, it was Mafia the Old Country.
And honestly, in a lot of ways, even worse.
Before that, it was Wu Chang Fallen Feathers. Before that, it was Mind's Eye. Before that, it was Oblivion Remastered. This just keeps on happening. And it's not like this is a problem that's exclusive to this last year or so. I mean, towards the end of 2024, the uproar was over Stalker 2 and how it performed on PC. Another Unreal Engine 5 game. And before that, in 2023, we had Star Wars Jedi Survivor and its god-awful PC port.
Oh yeah, the PC port was ass. Dude, whenever they make a game that works on PlayStation, why the hell can't they just make it work on computers? It just makes no sense in my eye. How is that a problem?
Again, another Unreal Engine 5 game. This console generation, the amount of developers that are pivoting to this engine, it's just becoming more of a widespread problem. And definitely people are seeking answers. And that's why we look to Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney, who addressed this the other day. He had an interesting response to the criticism. He said, the main cause is the order of development. Many studios build for top-tier hardware first and leave optimization and low-spec testing for the end. Ideally, optimization should begin early, before full content build-out. Epic is working on solutions to make that process easier, he explained. We're doing two things, strengthening engine support with more automated optimization across devices, and expanding developer education so optimize early becomes standard practice. If needed, our engineers can step in. And lastly, he said, game complexity is much higher than 10 years ago, so it's hard to solve purely at the engine level. Engine makers and game teams need to collaborate. We're also bringing Fortnite optimization learnings into Unreal Engine so titles run better on low-spec PCs, although I do find that funny because Fortnite has been criticized heavily for certain platforms in which the optimization just isn't there.
I have never heard anyone complain about Fortnite not running properly. Now, granted, I don't play Fortnite, and I have literally never played Fortnite, but that's not a thing I have heard people complain about. I was pretty confident that Fortnite can be played on a potato at this point.
Such as on the Switch. Now, Sweeney is right though. I think it is worth mentioning that there is a number of Unreal Engine games that have run without a hitch. I mean, I look to Avowed, I look to Hellblade 2. Those are prime examples of success.
Yeah, too bad those games suck dick. Also, Hellblade doesn't count. That's a movie with like one thing rendered at a time. Hellblade Senua's Saga is a woe garbage. that doesn't count for shit in this case, because again, it's like you're rendering one wall most of the time in that game. You can't see in the distance. There's nothing. There's just one corridor. If that can't even be properly loaded, I don't know what honestly can. And I already forgot the first thing that he said.
In this area. Even Expedition 33, which also released earlier this year, a Game of the Year contender, not really any issues in terms of performance, but I also do think that those...
True, but it's also not trying to do that many performance things per se. I think there's obviously a difference, right? Expedition 33 is just supposed to be, you go here, you pick up a shiny thing, you fight a bunch of things, here everything is static as you can see, and the world is, well, the world looks pretty good. Expedition 33 is a relatively beautiful game. I'm not the biggest one to be sold on that point. I don't think the world looks that great, but the game is great, right? But it doesn't do a lot of things with the world, okay? So games that have a world, but the world is static and doesn't move and there's no interaction, I mean, saying that that's optimized, I feel that that's kind of cheap. Because, well, yeah, again, Senua's Saga is literally a corridor and nothing else needs to be rendered or done. So, optimization for something like that, I'd imagine, is super easy.
This game, specifically like Expedition 33, it's just not a heavily demanding game. I mean, you look at a lot of the scenery, you look at a lot of the action sequences. It's very different than, say, a massively open world experience and the likes of Stalker 2 that is also seeking some of the best game graphics. That's just not what Expedition 33 was all about. But at the very least, what Tim Sweeney is saying, I think there is a truth to that. And it's not like Unreal Engine 5 is the only game engine that's running into issues. Game optimization has become an industry-wide problem. Many games, many experiences have launched broken. I mean, you look to Monster Hunter Wilds that came out earlier this year. There's been so much controversy in regards to how...
There's still controversy. That game has lost 99% of its player base. Oof. Poor optimization is like a massive thing. Capcom is, by the way, gonna go down in flames, I think, in probably in like this year or maybe 2 years time max. But they're already seeing problems. Their 10-year plan is on flames.
Capcom has handled that game. It just feels like every month or so we're running into another game that's just not running how it should. And that largely is because these game companies, whether that be greed, they're trying to rush these games out, and they have the mindset to update and fix it later on. Now, we did have a couple of interesting responses to what Tim Sweeney said about Unreal Engine 5 and the fact that a lot of game companies aren't prioritizing optimization with the engine. We had Baldur's Gate 3's publishing director saying he's not necessarily wrong, but a game developer's ambition should not be capped by hardware. It's blue sky and then reality hits. If it was reality and then blue sky, you'd end up with pretty uninspired games. And then we had a former Naughty Dog developer saying he's right. The problem here is that every developer knows it, yet half the online discourse will claim it's a
Naughty Dog developer opinion disregarded.
Lie, despite them never having shipped a game, so the truth doesn't really matter. And I do think that this is an interesting exchange that happened months ago when, again, Stalker 2 was under fire. Somebody saying, I was under the impression it's because UE5 is sold as a more complete toolkit that does all the work of lighting and shading for you, so devs are handing it to less experienced level designers and artists thinking the engine will just figure it out, and then we're left with these janky messes. And a supposed developer who has worked on Unreal Engine 5 responded saying, I've worked on this engine and helped quite a few other people optimize their projects. It can run great, but there are a couple of issues that prevent this. First is the one you said, inexperienced level designers, environment designers who do what they think is best without actually knowing, and then there's the very incomplete documentation that compounds the problem. Almost all of the optimization I do for Lumen/Nanite is completely missing from the documentation. I've just had to figure it out over the years. There's some very impressive technology in Unreal Engine.
This is Concord gameplay, by the way. Are you impressed? I already want to click off the video. I'm not gonna even lie. I actually want to do that because this is Concord that's so boring.
It's just implemented poorly by many developers. And then he was asked, do you have any experience or examples of the optimizations that he's done? He said it really depends on the environment and what they're using. If it's what I normally do with Nanite and Lumen, dense forests are often a choke point for people. There are tons of things you can do if you use Nanite, like using full geometry foliage instead of the typical masked cards. That alone is a huge boost. Aside from that, shadows are usually the next biggest performance hit. Managing which plants are allowed to have full fully dynamic shadows will net a huge boost, or if it's a nighttime scene, they often don't need full dynamic shadows at all. Tons of different things you can do. And like I said, this has just been an issue for a long time. We've had pieces like this coming from VG247. This was actually what that developer was responding to. It's time to admit it, Unreal Engine 5 has been kind of rubbish in most games so far, and I'm worried about bigger upcoming projects. And they pointed out that Stalker 2 has made me look back and realize that maybe it was a mistake to make Epic Games' Unreal Engine 5 become an industry standard for the next decade. And I really did want to highlight the last paragraph in this.
I mean, Unreal Engine is technically still the best one that you have for most things. Not a game developer. I think computers are black magic, and there's literally nothing you can do to convince me. I'm not even joking.
Piece because it summarizes some of my concerns moving forward. As we look to the future with Unreal Engine 5 powered behemoths like the next Witcher, Mass Effect, and Star Wars Jedi entries looming nearer and nearer with each passing day, I can't help but be worried about the major studios that have ditched their own tech to rely on Epic Games' engine, which so far feels quite underwhelming in real use outside of wild tech demos and projects where tons of time and resources were allocated to work out its kinks. And this is the one area that gets me so concerned about the future. You look to some of the massive, amazing engines, whether that be the Fox engine that fueled a lot of those Kojima Metal Gear games, and Konami ditched it. And you indeed have a lot of people looking at what's happening with MGS Delta and wondering why didn't they go with that game engine, the engine that looked and ran spectacularly well. And this brings us to an article from KR Asia. Game studios
Well, I mean, it's an in-house engine, so training people for working on it is probably really well, it's a chore, for one. Two, it's maybe not even realistically that possible most of the time, so you never know.
To Unreal Engine 5 as proprietary tools fall from favor. At the 2024 Game Awards, 2K Games and its developer Hangar 13 announced they would abandon their proprietary Fusion engine in favor of Unreal Engine 5 for the latest Mafia installment, Mafia: The Old Country. Similarly, CD Projekt Red has transitioned from its in-house Red engine to Unreal Engine 5 for the
Yeah, people. I also gave my opinion on CDPR transitioning from the Red Engine to Unreal for the next, well, everything, honestly, which is questionable. But you kind of think about it. The two CEOs of CDPR are constantly lying to the player base and saying, "Oh no, CDPR is fine. No people are quitting. All the people who made The Witcher, Cyberpunk, they're all here." No, they're not. More than half of them at this point, I think, have left. A huge chunk of them have left. So imagine, in like literally the time span of like 1 to 2 years, half your people leave. Half your big important people leave, keep in mind. People who had extreme knowledge about the Red Engine and things like that also. And now you need to replace these people? And you need to make a game at the same time on these engines? Bruh. You cannot be training, if your team is like 500 people, you can't be training 250 of those people to use the engine. So this is a thing with niche engines. It's really hard. If your churn is high, I imagine that your engine sounds pretty good, and the Cyberpunk 2077 is absolutely gorgeous on the engine. It actually does amazing things time to time. But I imagine as a company, it's just honestly too hard to sustain it. Something happens, like 1/4 of your developers leave. Well, shit, you gotta rehire people, and they probably have no experience with the Red Engine because it's your in-house engine, and that kind of completely stalls everything in your plans. You're already behind, and you haven't even started yet, and you're behind. That's probably devastating for these companies, I would imagine.
Next generation, the Witcher series. Even studios renowned for investing heavily in proprietary engines, like those behind the Silent Hill 2 remake and the Halo series, are embracing Unreal Engine 5. And we do have developer accounts about the challenges that are posed by using these proprietary engines and why companies are choosing to ditch their proprietary like Red Engine in favor of Unreal Engine 5. Former CDPR developer Bart Ronsky shared candid insights on X, saying every game CDPR dropped the whole engine. We wrote it from scratch hoping this time it will be better and work, but then due to crunch hacked the hell out of it, with it not being maintainable or usable at all. Similar challenges plague the developers of the Halo series. Some components of Slipspace are almost 25 years old.
I guess, yeah, that's also a thing. But if your engine's just bad because you fucked it up, I don't know if that's the thing. Again, computers run on black magic. You can't prove me wrong.
Remarked Chris Matthews, studio art director at 343 Industries, in an interview with Xbox Wire. Although 343 were developing it continuously, there are aspects of Unreal Engine that Epic Games has been developing for some time, which are unavailable to us in Slipspace, and would have taken huge amounts of time and resources to try and replicate. Older engines frequently accumulate technical debt, entrenched bugs or inefficiencies that become increasingly difficult to resolve over time. With staff turnover, attempting to overhaul such systems can prove daunting, risking widespread failures. In contrast, modern
Okay, listen, this is avowed. Do not get it twisted. This is not based. Sure, yeah, you're smacking little people with hammers, but the game's not good, okay? Do not let this small glimpse of happiness fool you.
commercial engines built on decades of iterative development offer a more stable and scalable foundation. And this alone
I can't even tell if this is supposed to be a woman or not. Jesus Christ.
is kind of one of the big things and the reasons why we're seeing an explosion in Unreal Engine 5. But there's also a disappointment attached with that. I mean, you look at some of the games like even MGS Delta, some of the iconic scenes, you compare to what it looks now, there's just a certain feeling or a certain look that you have with
Wow, this is pretty fucking bad, huh? This actually feels worse than this somehow. Jesus.
the Unreal Engine that is kind of something that trickles over to all of these games, in which they all feel and they all play very similar. Even Oblivion Remastered, we had the same criticism. When you enter those sewers for the first time,
Hey, hey. They didn't at least touch my dryads, you know what I'm saying, boys?
that iconic imagery, the art direction just isn't the same, and that's what I kind of trying to hit home on. A lot of people have criticized Unreal Engine 5 besides, you know, the performance problems. It's just the fact that a lot of these games that are coming out now, they just don't feel different enough, and that's something that is lost when we're ditching all this proprietary software. And just to understand how much the playing field in the gaming industry has changed, pointed out here, an examination of the winners of the Game of the Year award of the Game Awards from 2014 to 2020 reveals a gap. Despite Unreal Engine's widespread adoption and technological sophistication, none of the winners, games like The Witcher 3, Overwatch, Zelda, God of War, Sekiro, were developed using Unreal Engine. Instead, these masterpieces emerged from studios leveraging their proprietary engines. This dynamic shifted dramatically by 2022. Unreal Engine-powered titles began to dominate the stage, with a dozen upcoming or recently released games based on Unreal Engine featured at that year's TGA ceremony. And even now, the sheer amount of games utilizing UE5 has only continued to grow, and some developers are upset by this but not surprised. While Cyberpunk 2077 was a disaster at launch, a poorly optimized one especially for consoles, a senior developer reached out to me a few years ago explaining the issues that plagued the game were largely to blame on studio leadership. More specifically, their decision to not invest the proper resources into Red Engine development. The company, in the years making Cyberpunk, lost a lot of key talent and were replaced by inexperienced juniors. Concerns
Told you, this is stuff that you can parse.
By engineers were brushed off, and a mentality of we'll figure it out along the way was said by executives to
Imagine the miracle that this happens to Blizzard and like 90% of their woke shitlords get fired and we can start over again. Oh man, dream.
developers. Inside reports additionally exposed that CDPR was building the game and engine at the same time. Designers would have to wait on the engine to test features or experiment with new ideas, and then after that wait, bugs and glitches would appear, which meant engine fixes were needed and more waiting would be necessary.
Wait, how does gambling even work in... How does gambling even work in 2077? Everyone has a computer in their brain. They can literally analyze the drag for the balls and things and figure out where shit is gonna land. Like, what do you mean? How does this even work? Everyone can count cards now.
All of this contributed to that game's chaotic development, and as we've now seen through the Phantom Liberty expansion and the various other improvements made, Red Engine was never to blame. The game was just rushed out way too early. And now there's a sense of disappointment that that engine will now be left in the dust because there's a unique feeling and visual identity that cannot be replicated. I asked at the time to the senior developer whether or not the move to UE5 would be the best, and they simply highlighted back around 2021, 2022 when we had this conversation, the tools for open world games were not there for Unreal Engine, and the move would not be as easy as CDPR was making it out to be. And as we've now seen in a number of open world UE5 games that have since launched the last few years, the concerns are very much valid. Ultimately though, the decision is one a lot of companies are making now, because training developers for proprietary engines is time consuming. Keeping up with modernizing and improving said proprietary engine is time consuming, and instead utilizing the game engine that so many developers are already knowledgeable of is viewed as the easier path. And to Epic Games' credit, they have been active. They are working on improving and solving a lot of the issues that developers are running into with Unreal.
Well, I think that's honestly a takeaway. Unreal Engine 5 will solve these issues, obviously, because they want people to still use the engine. So the more Unreal Engine makes the engine better, the better everything becomes for them, the more money they make. So they're obviously gonna try and solve this stuff. And the fact that developers actually consider how things work would be kind of nice, I guess. In any case, Unreal Engine 5 is still gonna be the future of gaming. Wait, Unreal Engine 5 is killing gaming. Shit, I wanted to use that title. Damn it. Anyway, that was Legacy Kill HD 10 out of 10. Bye.